and welcome back to today's class. In our last class, we talked about aggregation, and in today's class, we are basically going to talk about group by and having clause. We use this group by and having to basically summarize data to turn our rows into grouped insights. We mostly use group by for categorical columns. So to explain the group by in the practical scenario, let's use this business question to explain it. So we are trying to get the total billing amount for patients with medical conditions. Okay, so we have a column for medical condition, and then we have a column for billing amount. So for each medical condition category, we want to know the total billing amount, so we can identify maybe the medical condition with the most billing amount and the one with the least billing amount. So these are some of the insights we can gain from this question that we are asked. So now all we have to do is we are trying to get the total billing amount. To get the total billing amount, we have to use aggregation. We have to use aggregate function, right? That will be the sum of the two amounts. That will give us the total billing amount, okay? So we have to group the patients with their medical condition so that we don't have repetition of this medical condition. It will be grouped. So for cancer patients now, it's going to calculate the total billing amount for everywhere that we have cancer, and on for each of the category. Let's see how that works. Let's start by selecting. We want to see the medical condition column. Medical condition. And I also want to get the total billing amount. So I'm going to do the sum of Okay, so I'm going to do the sum of billing amount. I want to see two columns. The first one is the medical condition, and the second one is the total billing amount, right? So I'll say this to be as total amount, right? So those are the two columns I want to see. Then I'll say from healthcare. So I'll say from healthcare, and now I want to group it. Let's see what happens if I run this without grouping it. That we got an error that it is invalid in the select list because it is not contained in either an aggregate function or group by clause. So because SQL can identify that this medical condition, we are saying that we want to get the sum of each medical condition, but we did not group the categories for the medical condition. So it's going to throw us an error. How do we fix this error? All you have to do is just use the group by. Then you say group by. What are we grouping by now? We want to group it by the different categories of the medical condition. So the medical condition will be what you are grouping by. Okay, and then we can run this. If you run this now, you can see that it grouped the medical condition, only showing us the unique category. More like, you remember when we used this thing the other time to get the unique category? Yeah, we use group by because we are going to call it together with an aggregate function. We have diabetes. This is the total amount for diabetes medical condition. We have cancer. This is the total, and you can order it in ascending or descending order. Looking at this number, I can't tell which one is the most, which one is the least. Okay, but I can quickly use my order by right here. So I can order by the total amount. That is, I want to order by these numbers, the highest. So let's order it in ascending order, so we don't have to write anything. So I'll run it. You can see that cancer has the least total amount, while diabetes has the highest total amount. And if you want to order it from highest to lowest, you know that you're going to write descending at the front, and then you can see now it is rearranged. So this is how we can use group by clause in our query. As a beginner, you might need the syntax for this query. All right, let me just give you the syntax to use the group by clause. The syntax is you want to select whatever the first column you are trying to group by is. So you select the column and then you use your aggregate function. So let's say we are using aggregate function. In this case, you can see that we used sum, right? So whatever aggregate function you want to use, into brackets, the column. Okay, so let's label it column 1 and column 2. So there's no mix up. Okay, so now your column 1, you want to select the one that you are going to group by. The second column, which you are going to use aggregate function for, like we did here, together with the column you are going to aggregate, okay? And then next, you want to specify from where your data is coming from. So that will be from your table name. Oh, sorry. That will be from your table name. All right, and then you can just group by. You group by the column 1, not the one that you are aggregating. So you just group by column 1. So you can keep this syntax in your notes. Anytime you want to write the group by, you just come to this syntax. So it will guide you on which one you are writing first and which one you are writing second. So you don't group by column 2 instead of column 1. See, another beautiful thing is we can add multiple columns. We don't need to group by just one column. We can group by multiple columns. For example, let's say we want to group by their medical condition as well as their gender. We can come here to the select query and then get the gender column as well. Okay, and we'll come to the group by to group it by both their medical condition and also by their gender. So let's run it now. Now you can see that for male with asthma, this is the total amount. For male with diabetes, this is the total amount. Female with obesity. So as you can see, we arrange it in descending order. And from here, we can see that the male with asthma spends the most billing amount, okay, followed by the male with diabetes, and on like that. So these are the type of insights we can gain using the group by clause. Let's talk about having in SQL, right? You can't use where with aggregate function. So you can see in this query that we wrote the last time, this one, you can see we used aggregate function right here. So let's say we are trying to apply filter, all right, but the filter we are trying to apply is based on this new aggregate column that we tried to create. There's no way we can use where clause to do that because where does not work with aggregate functions. Okay, so in that case where you have aggregate function in your query, then you use having clause instead of where. Okay, so let's see how having works. Okay, so let me first run this query. Okay, so this is our result. So I want to filter it out and say that having the total amount greater than, maybe I'm just going to pick a value from this place. So let's write that down here. So I'll just say having, then I'm going to call the aggregate function sum of billing amount. I know you are wondering that why don't we call the total amount directly, but because it's an aggregate function, we are just trying to create that column. Okay, so you just do sum of billing underscore amount. Okay, then we can specify the condition, the one that is greater than, let me just pick this value here. So let's run it now. You can see before we have 12 rows. If I run it now, it's now only showing me values that are greater than the specified condition. Let's try to change this where to having so you understand what I'm saying better. Where we are going to get an error, obviously. Okay, it's not supposed to be here, I guess. Yeah, it's supposed to be here. Let's run that again. Can you see an aggregate may not appear in the where clause unless blah 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 blah. So you're just definitely going to get an error. So it's telling you that you're supposed to use an having clause instead because you want to filter by an aggregate function. And lastly, if I try to say having, if I want to use this total amount that I named the column instead, it's not going to work because we are just trying to get that column. We're just trying to create the column. Okay, so let's try to see so you can be sure that it is wrong. It will most likely tell us that the column does not exist. Can you see invalid column name total amount? Because we are just trying to create this column using the aggregate function. It's not created, it does not exist in our data yet. So that is basically how you can use having clause, and that's like the difference between having and where clause. You use having clause when you have aggregate function, you want to filter by the aggregate function, okay, but you use where clause where everything is normal. You just want to apply your filter, you don't have anything on aggregation. So in conclusion, the where clause is used to filter individual rows. So let's say we want to filter individual row like gender, we can use the where clause. The group by clause, we use it to group rows, right, into categories. And the having clause, we use it to filter after grouping. So try to practice everything that we have discussed in this class. And when you are done practicing, make sure you comment done. And get ready for tomorrow where we are going to talk about joins in SQL.